This week in Pure Reinvention. From that day, I've slowly been working on my own reinvention. I think when people hear about pure reinvention, they want to apply it to something. And a lot of people don't think about applying it to themselves. Episode 91, Pure Reinvention Short, making pure reinvention personal.
Engage, disrupt, adapt, repeat. You're listening to Pure Reinvention, the podcast for curious people.
Welcome to this episode of Pure Reinvention, where we create space for the unexpected by inspiring a reinvention lifestyle. This is going to be an outstanding journey because we are going to talk about how to make pure reinvention personal. And no better person to talk about this being a personal journey than Jodi Parker, our co-host, who I had the pleasure of watching transform in this last 12 months into someone who is applying pure reinvention. But Jodi, 12 months ago, that wasn't the case, was it?
It was not, because I didn't really know what I was looking for. I'd kind of settled into what I thought was this career. I was a graphic designer. This is what I was going to do. And I didn't do much looking outside of that.
So you got invited on a bus trip.
I was invited.
And you weren't sure whether you really wanted to go on this bus trip.
I do believe that I actually tried to get out of the bus trip unsuccessfully.
So you were in this point in your career where you were kind of hungry for whatever was next, but were hesitant to take on a new experience that might introduce you to something new. But you went on the bus trip anyway.
I did.
So let's start with how the day began to unfold so that people can go on this journey with you for the day and begin to understand the transformation that started to take place that morning. Talk about that morning.
Well, it started with everybody meeting at a meeting place, and we had some time to mingle and get to know one another, kind of figure out what everybody did for a living, why we were all here, what the day was going to entail. We hopped on the bus and we continued that conversation on the way down to Detroit. We went and had lunch at a fantastic little place, and I really enjoyed the conversation there. I got to talk with Jeanette Pierce, and I started getting really excited about the things that she was doing in Detroit and listening to her stories, and started getting really inspired. And it was after lunch at our next stop, and I think that was Rebel Nell. And that's really where the switch went on.
And tell the listeners a little bit about what Rebel Nell is.
So Rebel Nell, it's more of a haven for women who have found themselves on hard times. They either are homeless or don't have a job. It's a place for them to go to rebuild themselves as women, to learn new skills, to get an education, and to be able to get themselves back out into the world in a comfortable space.
And it was during that stop that you began to change.
It was. I found myself withdrawing from the group more. Kind of this light went off that was like, here I'm listening to all these great, brilliant ideas. And I remember that I used to have these ideas, and where did they go? Where did they go? I've never followed through with any of them. I've just kind of gotten to this place where I'm stagnant. I'm just going through the motions every day. There's no more excitement. There's no more passion. And I'm really miserable.
I think for a lot of us, we call that the hamster wheel.
Yes. Oh, it was very much a hamster wheel. And so the rest of the day kind of continued on like that. I kind of withdrew from the conversations. I was taking things in, but I wasn't really participating. I was really internalizing and trying to figure out where had I gotten off course. And it took a couple days, but I finally figured it out. And I called Jodi up and I said, I figured it out. You and I, we need to get together. I have some questions. And from that day, I've slowly been working on my own reinvention. I think when people hear about pure reinvention, they want to apply it to something. And a lot of people don't think about applying it to themselves.
This week's episode is sponsored by MBStrategies. MBStrategies focuses on your success and provides you with sustainable results by identifying opportunities, guiding you through implementation, and navigating you to greater results. Contact MBStrategies today at mbstrategiesllc.com to start your reinvention journey.
Jodi, what really strikes me about this entire journey that you have been describing is, in a way, it's very simple. That this is really one of the steps that we talk about is simplify. And what you basically said is you don't make it so complex. Just simplify it down and focus on yourself. Keep it simple.
I knew that I had gotten to a place where I wasn't excited anymore. Once I knew that I wasn't excited anymore, it was easier for me to figure those pieces out. Well, maybe it was that I wasn't doing the things in my professional life that used to excite me. You know, I had stopped looking at things that inspired me. I had stopped listening to speakers. I had stopped doing my own research on things. Little by little, I had withdrawn from these things and I took that excitement away. But when I thought about it and realized what had happened, it was much easier for me to then say, okay, well, I used to do this and I used to get really excited about that. I mean, the only logical thing to do would be to start doing that again.
When you talk, Jodi, about applying this to your own personal journey, that takes this very broad concept of how do I apply this in a job or in a company, and starts to say, keep it very simple and just focus on you. You know you, and you know how to work on you.
Yes. Once you start getting back into that excitement of things, suddenly taking the next step or trying something new doesn't seem scary or annoying or just another thing that you have to deal with. Suddenly it becomes something you're looking forward to doing. For instance, this podcast. If I hadn't been excited about where I've come in the last 6 months, I don't think I'd be sitting here. I wouldn't have a story to tell. I certainly wouldn't have put myself out of my comfort zone by sharing the story. So once you get that excitement back, it's amazing to see where it takes you.
And I do want to make sure that it's very clear to the people that are listening. This is not a complex set of formulas. This is a very simple understanding of how you get back to the very basic things that really inspire you.
Once you start the process, it really does come very naturally. And I've actually discovered that I'm pretty good at some other things. When we look at the steps of PureReinvention, if you had asked me 6 months ago, I wouldn't have said that one of the things that I enjoy doing is connect, that I'm not any good at connecting. And I have found that I have taken that and I have run with it. And I enjoy it. The people I've met, the things I've learned, I think I've learned more in 6 months and done more things outside of my comfort zone in 6 months than I have in the last 10 years. And that has been really exciting and very liberating. I'm looking forward to doing the next thing that's out of my comfort zone. So what started as what I thought was going to be a pain in the butt has really sparked my passion for a number of different things I didn't even know I was passionate about.
For those of us that have learned about you in the last year and would not necessarily have known about the success you've had prior to last year, which has been a great deal of success.
It has been.
But in your mind, you'd gotten to a point where you were beginning to plateau.
I was.
And you were ready for the what's next. And the bus trip with the other women, the WE.INVENT cohort, part of the PureReinvention project and the experience, was able to, through that collaborative community engagement, was able to bring you to a new spot.
It was.
And for an outsider like myself to watch that transformation, it's been phenomenal. It's been phenomenal to listen to you talk about your journey, to ask questions about what's next, to continually be professionally and personally curious about how to apply these things to make yourself a better person, to make yourself a better mother, to make yourself a better addition to the community. I don't think a lot of people really realized the degree to which you are trying to take the PureReinvention steps and apply them to the betterment of others.
Yeah, I kind of took PureReinvention and jumped in with both feet right away.
Kind of really ran with it. And so what I'm learning in this short is that it has to first start with you.
It does. You have to recognize it and you have to be ready for it.
And then once you're able to be accountable to you and embrace it within yourself, you then have the ability to apply it in other situations.
Just about any situation.
And to those who are listening, who are ready to go on that personal journey, Jodi, what do they need to do?
They need to take that first step. Got to give it a try.
And what would that first step look like?
Getting on the bus.
If you're ready for a change, make it a change that lasts. Make it PureReinvention.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Pure Reinvention. Keep the conversation going and get alerts when new podcasts are up by following us on Twitter at PureReinvention or sign up for our mailing list at PureReinvention.com.